Scorpion T. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
I'm Anthony, the vocalist.
I'm Chris, the guitarist.
And I'm Edley, the drummer.
Absolutely brilliant. And how did you guys get together?
I'm going to leave that to Chris.
Well, that's how do we get together? I mean, first of all, we're all best friends for at least 15 to 20 years. We know each other here in New York, and individually participating in different bands and different music projects throughout the years. And just deep inside, we always knew we wanted to make something together, collaborate, create together, and it just kind of gave during the pandemic towards, last year, a year and a half ago. And just I was in Colombia visiting my mom, and Eddie came down to visit as well for music related purposes and to hang out. And he was like, I got this idea in my head called Scorpion Tea, and how do you feel about it? And I was like, well, I got this, demo going with Anthony for a bit. You want to hear it? And just kind of like everything came, all the stars aligned and everybody was into it. And, fast forward 1 year later and we're here,
Wow, that's brilliant. And you've all had musical backgrounds, I'm assuming. I know Edley has.
Oh, yes. Chris and Anthony have been playing in bands for years.
Yeah.
As well. Wow. Is it something you've always been doing then with the bands, and are they still going, or have you just moved along to Scorpion T and that is the band now?
It kind of evolved. We were part of like the New York, I guess, rock punk scene, for the last 15, 20 years in different bands, playing shows here and there. But with Anthony, we had a couple of bands, couple of projects, but that kind of morphed and evolved into what Scorpion T sounds like now.
Okay. What were you aiming for with the sound? Because obviously your new single, which obviously I've been lucky enough to hear, is absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So who wrote that, and where did that sound come from? Obviously it's a collaboration, I guess.
Well, Chris wrote the music. He basically, it was rather funny. He sort of once him and Edley had sort of decided to use our old demo for Scorpion T. It seemed like the songs just like kept rolling out. And, before we knew it, we had like 10 demos in the group chat that we had to make lyrics for, and everything was happening so fast. So, we were like, essentially the story, the short of story of Scorpion T is that Edley and Chris decided to form the band, and then like 6 months later, and a couple of rehearsals and collaborations and getting together, we were recording an album. But yeah, sorry, I'm digressing into a path. So yeah, Chris wrote the music. I wrote the lyrics. I sort of, in the vocals for this, I was sort of channeling Dave from Depeche Mode, actually.
Okay.
Sort of like listening to a lot of that stuff, and I had been getting heavy into like J-pop from the 80s, city pop, and that pop structure is sort of like seeping into my head and really, like, I think flourished with this song.
Okay, and what's it actually about? I mean, the song's called, I've got to read that, Scarlet Misquote.
Yeah, it's well, it's essentially about like feeling as if you're on top of the world and that you understand everything, that you come to a place in your life, you're like, I've been through X, Y, and Z, and now I'm sort of actualized. But then some little call it a baleful missive, which, you know, I imagine is like a little envelope or a note just flying in it into the window and sort of landing in your lap, and you read it, and it's sort of just like throws you completely off kilter, and you realize that you know nothing. So it's, yeah, at its core, it's about being in situations that you know are bad for you.
Yeah.
And the slightest catalyst sort of bringing you back into that.
Which does happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. And that's released on the 16th of June.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be
So that'll be the
pardon?
video and single premiere.
Oh, both are coming out the same day.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's
I
brilliant.
wanted to roll back a little bit to the inception of the band for a second, because just to sort of like paint another picture of how it evolved was when I went to visit with Chris, it was to record drums for a different project that he was working on, and so because we hadn't seen each other, it was pandemic, and I went all the way to Colombia. We had these six action-packed days of like achieving that, but also just spending loads of time together, Chris and I, like sightseeing and stuff like that. And every night we spent watching videos and listening to music and kind of having this very like heightened exchange of information that then sort of led to me leaving and the outpouring of Chris's demos. So it was literally like, he was just machine gunning demos off from the inspiration of that, those 6 days. So I just kind of wanted to paint a clear picture of that.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. And you've got an album coming out, haven't you? That's in winter or fall, whichever.
October, the end of just in time for Halloween.
Oh, wow.
Right before
Halloween.
Yeah.
Brilliant. What can people expect from that?
Lots of surprises and scary things.
I can imagine it being a great album. I really can.
It's a journey for sure. It's kind of like, it doesn't let you rest. You know, it's always got you kind of like, what's happening next?
I love that.
And the live show, that we're developing now is definitely going to sort of take that further as well, because we're working with a lot of, because my solo stuff with all of the interludes and, sort of sample based music, we're kind of using that as like interludes in between some songs, within some songs to kind of like stretch things out. So the result's definitely going to be like a heavy psychedelic experience,
So have you started doing gigs?
Nope. We are still in rehearsals and booking gigs. We really just needed a couple of months together just to kind of get reacquainted and really inform the sound now, like how it's going to be live. Because for the longest, Chris was still in Colombia and then in Mexico. And so we needed to wait until March to get together physically.
Oh, so you don't live close together?
We do now.
Now we do.
Oh, you do now?
Chris moved back to New York in March. And so we get together, a few times a week.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So the album, what's it? We got a name?
Self-titled.
Self-titled. Brilliant. Brilliant. So Scorpion Tea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And the name, where did that come from? Whose idea was the Scorpion Tea name? I'm guessing I was going to say Edley.
Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah. The true story of how it came about was I'm a huge Butthole Surfers fan from, 80s stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And they made a short form film called Entering Texas in the late 80s, early 90s. And if you've never seen it, it's worth a watch. 20 minutes well spent. But Gibby Haynes has got this thing in his hair, and he's kind of like all crazy, and he's like the host of this barbecue. And these guests wander in, and he just says, "Want some scorpion tea?" But that always has resonated. Like ever since I was a kid in the 80s, like it just resonated in my head, like scorpion tea. And then like, what would that? Because in the film, it's like this disgusting concoction that the guests are drinking, and it's like you kind of get this association. but it's also sort of compelling. Like, what drugs are in Scorpion Tea? What's it going to do to me? You know? And so when I presented it to Chris, I was like, I wanted to do this really off the wall, like not Butthole Surfers, but just looking at live photos of them from early days. And I'm like, I want this unhingedness, right? I want to make crowds go insane. And then when Chris started playing me this music, I was like, bink. I was like, that's exactly what I want to do. You know, so that's where the name evolved from.
That's brilliant. And is Scorpion Tea a real thing?
Well, Texas tea is oil. I'm sure Scorpion Tea is something.
I'm sure, because I've searched for Scorpion Tea, and I'm sure Scorpion Tea came out with millions of results, and none of them at the time were you. So,
yeah. Well, we used the handle Scorpion Tea Time on social media. It's like, because otherwise you do get a lot of stuff unrelated.
Yeah. That's the problem with that kind of thing, isn't it? It just drags in so much rubbish that's unrelated, and you don't know where you are, do you?
Yeah.
So, how do you describe your sound for people who've not heard you yet?
Monsters playing broken instruments.
Yeah,
that's right.
You saying that, yeah.
That is the proper. That sums it up for sure.
Because I must say that hearing that first single, it's just, I wasn't sure what to expect after hearing that way of it being described, but it's far better than that. It's so much more. It's got a lot of depth. Vocals are brilliant as well. I thought I didn't know.
Thank you so much.
You singing, but it really does sound absolutely brilliant, and the music is just so perfect and fits in so well with the vocals. And you'd believe, I mean, have you guys played together before as a band, or is this the first time? Because it sounds like you've got such a perfectly tuned sound. You'd believe you've been playing kind of decades together kind of thing, because it's just perfectly tuned.
I'm going to elect to say something really hippie-ish at this juncture, and I think it's because we also really like each other a lot. Yeah. And so it's kind of like that sort of friendship aspect of it. We're just in tune with each other.
Yeah.
You know, Chris and I will go into the rehearsal room and spend 4 hours and not even think about what time it is. It's like we're just so, focused on what we're doing, and so just exchanging information all the time.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So is it a joint effort then when you come to writing the music? Is it like you've all got input?
I think to a degree, yes, but also to a degree, Chris is very usually comes with something very well formed, and the sort of like the nuances of the music, I feel like Chris and I work out rhythmically, and then Anthony, sometimes things will change based on lyrics, right?
Yeah.
The need for a shorter or longer, but that's kind of where it ends. You know what I mean? I would say that Chris sort of usually comes like very finished already, and that's just how his brain works,
Yeah. Yeah, but that's clearly worked, because obviously the single sounds so good. I mean,
yeah, I was watching him last night, and he was writing a new song while Anthony was sound checking vocals, while the bass player, and literally, and I was able to kind of just tune into that. And he's like, and all this chaos going on, he's still doing it. And he's like, okay, I'm good. I know that the next time he comes in, it's going to be perfect. That's just like, you have a special brain,
How do you do that through the chaos that's going on around you?
Oh God. I don't know. It's just like once an idea comes to my head, I have to like get it out in that very moment. So it's kind of just me, just ignoring what's going around and just getting it out there, and having a visual of my fingers on the fretboard just to remember it if I don't have the chance to record it on my cell phone or like a recording. So it's just basically that, having a mental image of what I'm doing on the fretboard. So when I come back around to it, I can remember it. But it's just, I don't know. I've been, toying around, making music, coming up with melodies since I was 9-10 years old with my brother's guitar. So it's just kind of like the way my brain works. Just pick up the guitar and just no rules. Just kind of come up with melodies and get it in there,
And then likewise, I wanted to point out that Anthony and I met for the first time years ago. A few times here and there or whatever, but the deep appreciation that I have for him as a vocalist, because when Chris and I made this decision, it was like Anthony was called, but there was nothing, like we hadn't worked together, And as I started to work more and more with Anthony, I realized like just how much of a genius he is, lyrically, vocally, seriously. So it's like this very deep appreciation that I know now from where we're standing, we're only going to go up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so too. Where are you planning to do your gigs? Local or more spread out straight away?
We're starting local. New York, everything's changed so much post-pandemic. Yeah. You'd think that it would just, like nothing went back to the way it was. So now it's like waiting lists and, this person gets a gig first. This is like all this kind of bullshit. So we're just kind of going with what we know. We're just going to play some local gigs. I live out in New Jersey in the countryside, very close to Pennsylvania. So we're going to book some like deep buried shows out here and just play, and just enjoy the experience and see where that takes us.
That makes sense.
When we filmed our video a couple of weeks ago for Scarlet Misquote, there's some live shots in there. And it was the first time we were on stage together ever, like actually on a stage, even though we were just filming it. It was like, this feels good. Like this is the next step. You know what I mean? It was good to walk away from that all feeling like we know what it's like to be on stage together and we can embody that. We can envision that for the future.
Yeah.
Are you all excited about going live with the band?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine it being quite a show as well.
Yeah,
I hope so.
We're working on our video projections and stuff like that. There's this band has been sort of required me to learn a lot of new technology very fast. So it's just kind of like video programs, audio programs, every like mutation of every type of media. It's got me kind of going like this.
It'd be worth it though. I'm sure of that.
For sure.
Just like I said, just go and buy your first single. That in itself speaks volumes for how you guys work together and your dedication to the art and how much you've obviously put into that to make that sound so good. It can only go up from there. And I'm guessing live you're going to sound different.
We're seeing how that's playing out now. We rehearse weekly and record everything and then sort of review, and it sort of like informs what we're going to do for the next rehearsal. And so as these, especially in the last 3 weeks, everything's kind of like really gone like this, where it's like, okay, we feel confident that we can play a live show like at this very moment, and forward. So that's a good feeling.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, I definitely hope I can get to see you guys some point live, because I think that's, I'm sure the sound's going to be brilliant. And, when you hear so many bands and you hear them on MP3 or on CD, and then you hear them live, you really get a sense of the talent and artistry behind those CDs, because they don't sound the same. They really don't. And you get so much more, I don't know, punch from the music. And it's the whole, I suppose, the adrenaline. It's feeding both ways. The crowd are feeding the band and the band are feeding the crowd. So it just keeps building up that adrenaline rush of how great things sound. And yeah, I can just imagine that you guys are going to absolutely rock the stages. That's for sure. And I don't think you're going to stay as a small band. I think progression is going to be quite quick.
We're ready.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
hopefully.
Life's too short not to be ready, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think what the pandemic is also, sort of given everybody this kind of like launching pad, for getting back in, so I'm calming down. I mean, I was in such a rush, and now I'm kind of like, okay, it's, like we're all right. Everything's all right.
Yeah.
The pandemic kind of created this sense of this, like, everything's going to end, you know what I mean? Like, do it now,
Horrendous situation.
Yeah, but I feel like things are slotting in place for us as they need to,
Yeah, we've just got one more thing to end now, isn't it? And that's that damn war.
Yeah, well,
once that's out the way, I think hopefully people can get back to complete normality. But it seems to be one thing after another at the moment, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So is that like things that are going on around you? Is that something that's going to be kind of show up in your lyrics, or is that not as such?
I tend not to write about politics or the social situations I write about are typically ones I've experienced, and I sort of just kind of take my lyrics and vocal melodies and stuff like that. They sort of come from like a feeling I'm feeling at that moment, and sort of like the words that come out at that moment are, they're sort of like a tapestry that I can move around and work with. I never write any, despite what like Edley and Chris might think that I'm a magician. It's like it was hard work writing the lyrics for this album. I had a lot to live up to. I had these two to impress, and some great songs to complement and help bring to life. So I'm really satisfied with this. It's a sort of a culmination of me and Chris working together, and meeting Eddie, and us jamming together when we were together that one rare time before we decided to form the band. I'll always remember this. We all just decided to hang out at Otter House Studio, which is a studio in Long Island City in Queens. And, we just got together. Chris was on guitar, Eddie was playing drums, and I was playing bass. And after our, like, maybe the first 5 minutes or so, Eddie just kind of stopped, and he was like, feels really good to play with people that actually know how to play their instruments. And I was so humbled. I was like, I don't know how to play my instrument. It's just that we sort of meshed so well together that the sound that came out was beautiful.
A lot of bands say that to me, that they don't class themselves as great musicians, yet the music, when it's all put together, sounds so good. But a lot of people claim that, and it's like, do you not listen to yourself?
Well, I hear Chris all the time saying he doesn't know how to play guitar. I'm just like, okay, let's put that on our press release.
Yeah.
And I call myself a caveman, so I play with mallets and hit things.
That's it. Yeah. Oh, dear, that would be quite a good show, wouldn't it? If you were dressed up as a caveman with clubs.
Well, I play with mallets, so it's already like clubs. You know what I mean? The heavy mallet on the end of the stick.
Really?
Yeah, I use orchestral mallets. I always have.
Wow.
A better really thud.
Batter those drums. Fantastic. But it sounds like you guys
Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun by Pink Floyd, the Live at Pompeii, and he's playing with the mallet. 7 years old, and I was like, I want that,
That's it. Yeah.
And then Budgie, Susie and the Banshees did it,
Yes.
Velvet Underground, and so like all that stuff started to feed my brain, and I never went back.
Wow. Good influences then. very good influences. But you three sound like you've got almost like a circle going, that you all admire each other. So you're all trying to impress each other in a way. That's what the impression I'm getting from you three, that you're all kind of impressing each other. So it's the quality coming out from you guys is always going to be good, because you're always striving to please the other ones in the band. So, which is showing in your music already.
Yeah, it's once they find out I don't know what I'm doing, then the admiration stops. Then the creativity is going to stop.
I don't know.
Sometimes when I realize what Anthony's saying, I'm like,
I don't know. I printed you guys lyric sheets.
Well, I know, but even so, like it doesn't, until it gets in there, it doesn't get in there, you know? Mm. And so there's just been moments where I realize what you're saying and I'm like, you bastard. You're so clever. I can't stand it.
When I was taking like a poetry class in college, something the teacher said stuck with me. She was like, you know what? When you realize something is good poetry is when you read it and you're like, damn, I wish I wrote that.
Yeah, you must get that though when you're writing music and performing music. You must at times think, when you've heard something else from someone else, God, wish we'd written that. That must come into, yeah, it does it?
It really does. I mean, it's more like when I'm listening to like 80s pop music, I'm sort of like hearing these melodies and I'm like, you can't get like the sadness of an 80s or early 90s melody in music today. Like there's really nothing like it. And that, like, you know, those kind of things are what I try to like really take away from music and put into my own work. A feeling.
Yeah, feelings and emotions always come out. It's good. Do you find that if you've written something kind of more emotional, that it's better to, when you're performing that, it's going to come out stronger because it's got that emotion to it?
Yeah, 100%. There are certain lines that are sort of like devastating realizations, just come out into words. Like, for example, in Scarlet Misquote, there's this one line that just occurs once in the song. She looks right through me. Whenever I say that, I like really feel it. I feel like a gaze just like piercing through my body. And I think that like really, you know, it translates through my voice and through my body gestures. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Is that something that you have to kind of tell the others, that these are the more emotional parts, or does everybody pick up on that and will know when to kind of emphasize that more with the music?
I think that we're pretty good at reading each other. Usually I notice when, you know, I'm sort of like really moving my body and like really squeezing like the most I can out of like a breath or a note, that the guys will notice and, you know, play a little bit harder. You know, the posture will change. It's just like, you know, especially when we have parts where we're sort of like, you know, spacing out and like just, it's sort of like a wave of noise and sound. Like that's when I feel like we really feed the most off of each other. So it happens during vocal parts and instrumental parts.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I
think it's also like when, you know, that we all, I do feel like we really pay attention to the emotive aspect of the lyrics. You know what I mean? Because like I was always when we were recording the album, I kept looking for ways to highlight certain lines of yours, you know?
Mm.
That's good. I mean, that just shows how much you gel together kind of thing, and that you know each other. You obviously work so well together. You know each other well enough to pick up on these little changes so that can come across. And I think I know it's coming across at the moment on the recordings, but what it's going to come out live, I can imagine that's going to make your shows just that little bit more special, knowing that lyrically the vocalist is singing along and you two are there picking on those bits and knowing when to punch out that little bit extra kind of thing.
I think what I'd really like to do is make a GoPro recording of us playing Scarlet Misquote in rehearsal to send it to you.
Yeah. That'd be brilliant. It'd be brilliant. That was just, I don't know. I just get that kind of vibe from you guys, that it's going to work so well, because already, I mean, like I said, I've only heard that song today and I just was so impressed with that, because Dan sent that to me and said, here's a little private kind of link. Have a listen. And I thought, whoa, wasn't expecting this. I wasn't sure what monsters playing instruments was going to be. So, because when I spoke to Edley before, that's all I got. I got monsters playing instruments kind of thing. And it was like, how the hell is that going to sound?
But it was such early days at that point. I was just kind of like, Chris was still in Mexico. We weren't rehearsing. I was like, I don't know. It just sounds like monsters playing broken instruments for the moment.
Yeah, and it was just like, I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know, Sonic Youth maybe, or something like that.
I guess it could sort of intone, that statement could intone that, something more like that, right? Like, yeah. But I guess I'm thinking more along the lines of like tunefully playing broken instruments. You know what I mean? Everything sounds slightly, I don't know, when Chris was doing his demos, he was playing the bass on a guitar into Logic, right? But detuned so that it would sound more like a bass. And it just had this weird pitch down. It had this really strange feel to it. Like it was slightly like the record was going or something weird, just ever so slightly. And that's kind of where that statement came from,
Yeah.
And I usually, on top of what Eddie said, I usually don't like to play my chords or power chords I like to bend all the strings every time I play my chords. So it's like that adds to the weird warpiness of the sound.
Just to make it yours, basically.
Yeah.
Which is good. I just wanted to add that when I said I was expecting something like Sonic Youth, I actually like Sonic Youth, so it wasn't something that was a horrible song.
Oh, no, me too. But I mean, just it sort of gave me a different camera angle of how it could be seen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because that's kind of a little bit of chaos with Sonic Youth, and yours was more, I don't know, organized.
Organized chaos.
Organized chaos, yeah.
And if it makes you shake your hip a little bit, that's good too, That's always good. That's always good.
Guys, is there anything else you'd like to mention maybe about the album or anything else coming up that people could find out more about you?
I'll leave that to Eddie. He's the best orator when it comes to selling this band, honestly.
Keep following our socials.
It will sell itself. Trust me, it will sell itself.
Follow our socials. We have the singles coming out. In addition, following the single will be something called the Dig Your Own Grave Pass.
Oh, yes. That's something I wanted to mention as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's going to be it's a little coffin. And when you slide it out, it will reveal a credit card that you can plug in the numbers on your computer, and you'll get all sorts of exclusive content. But people who have the card will get all of the singles and videos first before anybody else, plus a whole bunch of other stuff. So that's all going to be available through Give Take's website.
And that's like a fan club, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I saw I got sent a picture of it. Looks fantastic. What an unusual idea.
Thank you.
Come on. I'm guessing I know the answer, but whose idea was that?
I think it was a little bit of everyone. We kind of had a lot, little talks here and there over the months, and came up with, lots of what's happening. Yeah.
These guys had been researching. We were going to do T-balls. We were going to do all sorts of different things. And then we arrived on the coffin. It's like, this makes the most sense.
It's fantastic. It really is. And it looks so good.
Thank you.
It really does look good.
A friend of Anthony's did the credit card art, the sleeping skeleton. Super beautiful.
It is. It's just, I think it's going to be something that fans are going to really want. Because it's just, it's unique, isn't it?
Yeah, we wanted to do something.
I don't think anybody else has done that. I really don't.
No, there's this thing where like people are sort of not so interested in like digital only, it's like everybody likes something different, but this is an opportunity to, for us to really get creative with the content, and kind of like show people what we're doing as it's happening.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic idea. I mean, it's, like I said, I saw the photo of it and I just thought, whoa, that's different. That's really different. And I think that's another great innovation by you guys. It's just something completely different, off the wall, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely off the wall. And when is that launching? Is that launching with the album or with the single?
It'll be shortly after the single, because the idea will be, that if you purchase the fan club membership, right, and you get your coffin and card, then you already have Scarlet Misquote audio, video, and there's a forthcoming remix as well. Then once you have your card, you'll be loaded up with the next single when it comes out in six weeks after the first one.
Okay, yeah, that's fantastic. Great idea. That's really just such a unique selling point for the band. It really is. But like I said,
we just got to get people to know it exists and to purchase. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We just need fans.
Yeah, it's not going to be expensive or anything, but it's just a matter of like getting it out to people so they know it exists.
Yeah. Is that photo a secret at the moment?
It hasn't been revealed anywhere.
Okay.
So I guess it would be a question for Dan,
Yeah. Because I don't use anything that I'm not certain of.
Right. I mean, I think we should, you know what I mean? If this lives on your, your website or whatever.
Yeah. But if you want me to check with Dan, I will do that first.
Yeah.
Just to make sure, because I think it's something that personally people should know about alongside the interview, and then people can start coming to you and hopefully getting ready to buy the single and then the fan club, because I mean, that's just so great. And I'm pretty sure with some of the comments I've received about after the Edley interview about Scorpion Tea, I'm pretty sure that things are going to work out really good. I really am. Yeah, definitely. Well, guys, if there's anything else you'd like to say, you feel free.
Yeah, just follow us on all social media, especially Instagram. Scorpion Tea Time. Scorpion Tea Time. All the info, upcoming, news about the band and everything in between. That's kind of like our main social thing right now, the Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just starting to sort of pull back the curtain. Before we were, premiering our mascot, the mask, which will also premiere in the music video. With sort of placing it in everyday photos and situations, and then came the behind the scenes footage and photos of the music video, which we're super excited about. We found a great producer in Brooklyn that works with local NYC musicians, and his Instagram is NYC Musicians.
Okay.
And we're like I said, we're just really excited to work with him. He, you know, upon meeting him, we knew that he was going to get our humor and it was going to come across with his work. So
fantastic. But I'd love to talk to you guys again. But thank you for your time. I know it's always difficult to schedule several people, and especially when it's different countries as well. It's never that easy.
Yeah.
But it's been an absolute pleasure. Nice to meet you two guys for the first time. And Edley,
likewise,
great to meet you again.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And I just wish you the absolute best of luck with the single release and the fan club, and then that album. It's going to do well.
Thank
really
you.
Well.
Thank you.
Well, guys, you take the best of care, and like I said, good luck with everything.